Hey friends, Steve Guttenberg here, and I am the Audiophiliac. I have a theory, and it's just a theory, and I spelled it out in Stereophile a few years ago. I'm gonna rehash it right now. I'm gonna link to the complete article for greater detail. But the theory goes something like this, and that is that rock and jazz were on a parallel track of creative peaks. They each had a long, sustained peak that started in the 50s, late 50s more or less, and ran right through the early 80s. So for rock, it started with Bill Haley, Rock Around the Clock in 1954, and then there was Chuck Berry, of course, following on his heels, and then there were the girls groups and surfer music, and then of course the British invasion with the Beatles and the Stones and the Animals and Pink Floyd and the Who, blah, blah, blah. And then we go to the 70s and we have Elvis Costello and The Clash and Bruce Springsteen. So this thing keeps going and going and going, and then 1982, it stops, or early 80s, it stops for rock. And then, jazz has a longer arc. Of course, it started, with Dixieland and stuff. But, in the 50s, we had, to stick with the 50s time frame, we had Mingus, and we had Monk, and we had Ellington still going strong. There was so much happening. Coltrane, everything was happening in the 50s and 60s, and it kept going. There was changes, there was fusion and stuff, and it also peters out in the early 80s. I mean, since the early 80s, has jazz had a Monk or a Mingus or an Ellington? I don't think so. In rock, yes, there have been other things that happened after the 80s. There was certainly Nirvana, that stuff was happening, but it didn't sustain. It was there and then it was gone. And I'm not talking about popularity. I'm not talking about selling records. I'm talking about a creative period that sustains over a long period of time where everyone is really excited about the music. And that hasn't happened in jazz or rock since the early 80s. Now, what else was happening in the early 80s? Oh, that's right. Digital. Digital had come in, certainly with the introduction of the CD in the early 80s, and studios were starting to phase out analog recording. Now, that's the theory part of this story, is did digital somehow stymie the creative juices of a lot of musicians? It's a stretch. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'm just saying it's a curious coincidence that rock and jazz basically hit the end stop in the early 80s, and creatively, not selling records, not filling stadiums. The Rolling Stones are still filling stadiums, but they haven't made a decent record since Tattoo You. So I'm not talking about selling records or even popularity. I'm talking about creativity. Have the Stones made a record that anyone gives a crap about since Tattoo You? Not really. And the proof of that is not just my opinion, is that they barely ever play songs that they recorded after 1982 in their very long stadium shows. So they don't think that those songs are all that good either. So it's not just me. Anyway, it's just my theory. Feel free to disagree, of course, and leave your comments below. If you like my tirades, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please share. Please tell all your friends to watch me. And that's pretty much it for today. So thanks for watching. My name is Steve Guttenberg, and I am the Audiophiliac. Thanks for watching.